how did you keep yourself calm during that period of time, during that phase of time, when, people tend to, drop down a low, feel very low.
I that was the first time I realized that regardless of anything that happens to you, there's always a plan in your life. Even if you can even believe in God, in any religious belief that you may have, but there's always plans for you.
Who are you as a lawyer or as a person? Let me know a bit about it.
Doing a regulatory mapping about EU directives and EU legislation and national legislation to make sure that whatever is coming out of the project is compliant.
Right. So, if I would talk about this, when you talk about the legal framework, you started as a traditional legal lawyer. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session of Let's Talk World Conference. Today on the podcast, we have Mr. Jorge Barona with us. He is joining us from Colombia. And to let you know about Mr. Barona, he is an international legal consultant working at the intersection of law, innovation, and global collaboration. With over a decade of experience supporting EU funded research projects, George helps multidisciplinary teams navigate legal and regulatory complexity with clarity and purpose. He is the mind behind the legal expert license service designated to bridge the gap between specialized legal knowledge and real world innovation. George, as I said before, is based in Colombia, where he lives with his wife and young son. Hello, Mr. Barona. Welcome to our show.
Hello, my name. Quite happy to join the podcast and to be able to share some information and collaborate with you guys. Thank you.
The pleasure is all mine, sir. First of all, to start with, I would like to thank you, from the bottom of my heart for joining us, for taking out time to join us for this podcast and to share your views and knowledge on a lot of topics that we are going to discuss today. But before we get going, I would like you to let audience know about yourself as to what you have been doing, maybe a bit about your past, what your future goals are, how are you planning things.
Okay, so basically, as you mentioned in the introduction, yeah, I'm based in Colombia, so I'm a Colombian national. I Something very particular is that I work with European projects. Therefore, that raises a lot of questions for people because every time I
Mm-hmm.
get a new client, they always ask me, hey, how come a Colombian is working for EU-funded projects? And it's quite a story. Actually, I graduated here from law school in Colombia back in 2008. I started working. I did my first postgraduate. Then, after an episode that happened in 2012, I got how do you say that? Unlegally fired from a job.
Oh,
And yeah, it was due to a surgery. I was working in this company and I had to get a finger surgery. And when I came back from my liability period, they fired me. So it was a very complex situation. And I don't know, it was very hard for me personally, professionally. I felt very disappointed and very frustrated. But I didn't know that what life had for me going in the future. A year later, I was in France studying. I did my master's in France. I lived in Lyon for a couple of years. That's where I started to get hooked into this EU funded project. My brother, he owned a company, and this
mhm.
company participated in this project. So I started working with them. Then I came back to Colombia. I worked for the Colombian government, and then in 2018, I decided to start working with him. He called me and he said, "Jorge, I want you on my team." So I started working with him, and then it's been 7 years. I love my work. I am able to do it from here. uh, Actually, when COVID hit, when the pandemic hit, I was here in Colombia. So I decided to settle my roots in Colombia. I have a beautiful son. I live with my wife. So, and the best thing is that I can do my job, which I love, and then I can do it at the same time of spending some time with my kid. And watching him grow is the best feeling that I have right now. So that basically summarize
Definitely.
what I do.
Right. So, how old is your son?
Actually, next Monday he's gonna be 4.
Oh,
So it's in this
very
age
young.
where he demands, yes, yes, and he demands a lot of attention. And it's in this age where you don't want to miss anything. So I've been lucky enough and
Definitely.
blessed enough to be able to be here with his first steps and everything. I get to drive him to school every morning and to pick him up every day. So for me, it gives me a lot of pleasure.
Wow, that's lovely. A family man, A busy lawyer and a family man, I should say.
Yes, actually, when I introduce myself first as a dad, then as a husband, and then as a lawyer. I think those are my priorities.
That's
It
nice.
has
That is
come,
nice.
it raises a lot of questions because normally when you ask somebody what he is, they always say, oh, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I'm whatever. No,
Right,
I'm
right,
a
right.
dad. That's my main
Of
job.
course.
That was my life's
That's
dream, to be
lovely.
honest.
Frankly, I have never had anyone say this to me, on any of the podcasts, nor have I heard this. Any working professional who comes and says, "Oh, I'm a dad, I'm a husband, and then I'm a lawyer."
Yeah,
So you are the first
it's a
one.
compliment.
It is
I
actually,
think
I agree.
your profession has to complete your whole life. I think the
I
key is a
agree.
balance. And
I
I'm lucky
agree.
enough and blessed enough to have been able to achieve that balance. And I hope to keep doing it. So that's my main goal.
That's lovely, sir. That's really wonderful. As I said before, a family man along with a lovely, successful lawyer. Now, just to start with, uh, you talked about, you lost your job due to an injury, wherein unfortunately they fired you. So, maybe for middle-aged professionals or maybe for young people, if you would like to share any piece of advice, how did you keep yourself calm during that period of time, during that phase of time, when, people tend to, drop down a low, feel very low. What kept you motivated? What kept you, keep going?
Actually, my family. It was 2012. I had a lot of
Hmm.
hope in my work. As any starting professional, I wanted to be long in a company. I wanted to be part of a corporation, that everybody wants to be. My job, I loved it because it got recognition in the company. The company was very big here in Colombia, and everybody referred to you with respect. So for me, I like it. When this happened, I remember the day that I finished my contract because I was forced to resign. So my boss back then, he told me, you either resign or I fire you. And in that moment, I thought about my future, and I thought it was better for me to be in the record that I resigned rather than I got fired. But so that was a decision that I made in the moment. I don't know if I'll do it right now, but we're talking about 13 years before ago. So I
Right,
remember I got home and I started to cry because I felt frustrated. I felt like I failed, like a failure, and I
right.
was very
You
young.
must you must
So
have been a young guy back then. How old
yes,
were you, if you
actually,
don't mind me asking?
I'm 40, I'm 42. So back then it was 30 years ago. So I was 29. So,
Very young.
and, actually, my dad and my mom, they were in the US because my youngest nephew was born. So they were over there when my dad found out, because it was a surprise. I came back from every the surgery and my boss just saw me, and my dad came back from the US, and he gave me this support that I needed. My mom, he couldn't be here because he was with my sister. So I got the company of my family, and that was what kept me motivated. And I that was the first time I realized that regardless of anything that happens to you, there's always a plan in your life. Even if you can even believe in God, in any religious belief that you may have, but there's always plan for you. And in my case, I'm a true example that you don't know what is coming for you, because I would not have imagined 13 years ago that I wouldn't be today. I actually
Right.
very something very ironic is that when I came back from France to study, I ran into this old boss. I ran in the street and he said hello to me. I didn't have any grudge on him because, and he apologized to me. He said it was a corporate decision rather than a personal decision.
Personal decision, of
And he
course.
and he apologized to me, and I told him it's okay. You don't need to apologize. It was a corporate decision. I understand. And actually, if you wouldn't have fired me and this wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't be where I am today. So for
Very
me,
true.
everything turned out for the best. And even in life, I'm married, I have a son, and I back then I didn't know that I would be so happy today. So my advice will be that wait, don't don't fall into despair. Don't think that is
Right.
the end, because God and the destiny always has something to prepare. You keep preparing. I kept telling myself that something was going to happen, something, because I had the qualifications. when I came back from France, I couldn't find any job in France in 2015. That's the reason I came back to Colombia. And when I remember the last day before coming back, my brother told me, like, Jorge, every time you feel depressed, just take a look of what you have done. And his advice was to take a look of my CV. Every time you feel sad, just reorganize your CV, because in this way you're going to realize what you have done, and you're going to make yourself comfortable and happy what you have done. So that can give you the impulse that you need. And always aim for the sun, aim for the best. You might hit a star. Who knows? And that's my life. My wife is very beautiful, so I didn't have a chance to ask her out. So I mean, what is the worst thing she could have told me? No. And thank God she said yes to go out with me, and now we are 7 years together. A beautiful son, a beautiful family, very few things. So I'm very looking forward to what's next, because life has been so nice to me.
Lovely, sir. It is always better. People should have faith in Almighty. They should try to understand, the Almighty always have a better plan for them. There
Yeah.
can be initial hiccups, but yes, the Almighty always has a plan B for them.
Yes.
That's a very lovely piece of advice. And, nice of you to share your journey with us, as to, what you did, what kept you motivated, being a family man, first with your parents and now with your wife and little son. What's his name, by the way?
Mateo.
Mateo. Okay.
Mateo, yes.
Nice. That's a lovely name.
There's a Latino name for Matthew. Matthew is in
Okay.
English, Mateo is in Spanish. So
Okay. Okay. Thank you for letting me know that. I didn't know.
yeah.
All right. So now, for me to proceed further from here, it's nice that you have given us a bit about your career journey, about your personal life. Now, if I'll ask you, like, who are you as a lawyer or as a person, let me know a bit about it. But if I would ask you to shed more light on it, or about your early life experience, you talked about, you lost your job and then how things shaped, and then you joined with your brother. So that's how your career moved forward. And if you would like to give me a more elaboration on that, once you started working with your brother, and then, how did you go about it?
Let me see. I've been moving from legal practices. Actually, I started my law career working for the judicial system here in Colombia for a court. And that's where I got my first steps. Then I moved to this company that I told you about, and there I was working there. It was commercial law and it was labor law, and it was fun. It was not my main expertise, but I wanted to start exploring. Then when I came back from France, I worked with the government, with the local government, and then I worked for a year in an institution, government institution here in Colombia. It's called, I'll translate the name, is land restitution. Colombia had a long conflict for war conflict here in Colombia. And this institution was in charge of getting the people their land back. People that have been displaced due to the government, to the violence, we have to give them back. I worked for a year, then my brother called, and then I started working in these EU-funded projects. And I realized that was my place. From the moment, not only because I love what I do, because what I do is that I make sure that every research or innovation or product that is going to come out to the market as a result of the project has to comply with EU legislation. So basically, my job consists in doing a regulatory mapping about EU directives and EU legislation and national legislation to make sure that whatever is coming out of the project is compliant. So, and if it is not compliant, I need to make sure to give advice in a document to the EU Commission for them to legislate in the future about this. So the two of them can connect the result and the legislation. I love it because I've been able to work with people outside of my comfort zone. It means that I work with engineers, with scientists, with researchers who they don't understand the law. So my job is to make sure that they understand it. That's what I I have become like a translator for legal complexity. So in the beginning, it was hard because I used to write this legal document.
Right. So, if I would talk about this, when you talk about your legal framework, you started as a traditional legal lawyer. So,
Yes.
how did this transition come about? Any specific moment you realized, or anything specific that you saw, which motivated you in this way? So, how did you transition from a traditional lawyer to what you are today?
Actually, it was the whole experience in Europe. Uh,
Hmm.
Living abroad made me open my eyes. And this is something that I normally, when I talk to students, to law students, I told them that open your eyes to international, because I think it shows us in any aspect of life. When you get out of your comfort zone, it makes you better, in my opinion. So when I started knowing that there was this big world in Europe, uh, I started to study the EU in deep. I realized that there was so much to do, that I could be doing more than just a traditional lawyer. Uh, because law here in Colombia, it has its ups and downs. And there was one part was the working as a lawyer, that is, yeah, is good, is nice. If you can get good cases, if you work for a nice company, then it's good, it's profitable, because we cannot lie that, yeah, we do this for the love of the job, but we also do it to provide some stability, some economic stability. But there is another part that I believe that is the human factor. And in my opinion, when you get to collaborate with people who are nice, who are in the same, who share the same values of you, in a company that respects you in many, many ways. And I think respect is shown by giving you motivations. And I my first experience in Europe gave me all this. I remember here in Colombia, when I wanted to go to a doctor's appointment, I have to give a lot of explanations. In Europe, they trust you. If you cannot go to a meeting, or you cannot get online, and you can tell them, hey, I have this doctor's appointment, my kid is sick, whatever, they trust you. And for me, that means a lot. It gives me a lot. So I moved from this transition because I wanted to feel that. And I was lucky enough and blessed enough to come to a company that gave me this. And I was able to use my knowledge, because my masters are in European law. So I was good to be able to people to provide me this confidence, because I think that's one of the key things of I like what I do, because people respect you. uh, when you talk to people, you have some insights. They provide you with these feelings. So for me, it's very good. Sorry.
So, let's say, for instance, if I'll ask you, you have told me all about it, but still, for me and for the audience to understand it in a much better way, I'm sure you must have also faced a lot of, I can say, challenges, while working with different borders. Like, you qualified in Europe and then practicing in Colombia. Was there any specific turning point or any experience that, that redefined your role? Or maybe kind of challenges that you might have faced working across borders, different disciplines? So, how exactly things happened?
Okay, one of the first challenges is the cultural factor. I come from a culture. I'm Colombian. I'm Latino. And when you start to working with people with different backgrounds, with different nationalities, because most EU companies, they have people from all over Europe. So you get to
Right.
sit in a room with people from Spain, people from Germany, people from Czech Republic,
Hmm.
from the Netherlands, British back then, when they were part of the EU. And it's very complicated at first, because you want to earn the respect, and you think that earning respect means people who think of you that you're as equal. And I remember something that happened in the beginning. One of the first meetings I have to tell these researchers that that we needed to focus the legal document into something else. That was my professional opinion. And then they didn't trust me. because I'm from Colombia, and people think the European, they think about their own, not everybody, but back then I had that feeling that if I were told people that I was from Spain, lying because I have a Latino name, people would have respected me more because okay, you're from Europe too. But then when they found out I was from Colombia, they had in the beginning any doubts, and you can feel that when the questions that they ask you,
Mm-hmm.
and because you get to the feeling of the room. But it was hard. Another thing was the time difference, because here, for example, here right now is 10 a.m., 10:34. In Europe, it's 7 hours later right now, so it's 5 hours later. So, so to get to meetings, it was very hard because for me, 8 a.m., 9 a.m. meetings for them were my 3 in the morning. So at the beginning, I was not able to turn on the camera because it was dark here in Colombia. So so it was hard. Also, the virtuality, even if it's a blessing, sometimes you need the face to face. You need to feel be in the same room. You need to be somebody else behind a camera because you get to know the person. You get to share a cup of coffee, uh, even a lunch. So for me, those were challenges. Uh, I think I overcame these challenges by just showing that I was good for the job, that I deliver on time, because that was very difficult because it is not the same when you have somebody in the same room or in the same office and you can tell them, hey, we need this by Friday.
Mm-hmm.
But like having a person which they normally cannot, they were not used to send me emails at their 8, 9 in the morning because they knew that my phone rang at 3 in the morning, and that was not. But then I started to show them, hey, if my delivery was due on Friday, I will make sure that I give you that on Friday. And by this, I started to gain this trust from them. So that was my key factor. At the beginning, it was hard. Now it has become more. I think it's more doable every time. People see at your background and they say, okay, you have worked in many projects, so it's good. So that shows people that I'm good in what I do and that I can I can provide the results that they need me for.
Right. So, what makes you feel, or do you actually believe, that there is some sort of transformation that is needed in legal profession in today's times, post-COVID? Or if I'll
Yes,
ask
I
you,
think
in your opinion, what would be, that transformation that you would like to bring into this profession?
uh, I think COVID. Uh, there was a saying that it said that the tough times they bring out the best or the worst of the
Yes.
people.
Right.
I think COVID did. In some aspect, it brought the worst, but in some aspect, it brought the best. And I'm a person who likes to focus upon the best of the people. I have many role models, and I always take a look at what to follow, not what uh, to cut. And when COVID hit, I realized that people, obviously, because when these kind of situations come, people have their own interests, and
Right.
companies did too. So we started to lose the human factor, even though COVID showed us that it was the most important thing. So
Mm-hmm.
because, for example, here in Colombia, companies, they were counting the days for them to go back to the office because they
Oh.
didn't feel that people were productive enough at home. So they wanted to be the people. So it showed me that these companies care more about what you do rather than who you are. And and then after this, when my son was born, I realized that when I told you at the beginning, I'm a dad, then a husband, then a lawyer, because it made me think that one of the main transformation law requires is to bring back the human factor in lawyers, to ask you who you are rather than what you do, because what you do is an activity. Yeah, it's important, but who are you? Because re, uh, who you are shows you that you can have trust in other people. If I tell you that I'm a dad, that I'm a husband, it shows that I'm a family man. It shows that a client can feel comfortable with me because I can understand his preoccupation. also his business. I'm not saying that one thing is more important than the other one, but I think this human factor needs to be uh, taken into consideration again. And most importantly, because AI is taking over so many activities, but AI
Right.
cannot and will never replace the human factor in any business. So you can either fight AI with the same tools, or you can show your better strategy, that is to show that you who you are as a person can give you a little bit more about in any context. So I believe we need to transform the law in that aspect. We need to teach the students why or how can they do something at the same time of being a nice person in any aspect that you do. So I think right now, and for the past year, I've been thinking a lot about this, is that, and every person I talk to, when they invite me to a conference, I try to give this. I try to show the people who I am so they can get understand how important for me is this. And I think that if we connect the lawyers again to the human factors, I think our profession will be better. So, more empathy, uh, more, yeah, you need to have discipline. You need to sit in the same room with your client and don't see him as a dollar sign or as a euro sign or as a currency sign. You need to see him as a person. I think one of the also it depends on the area of the law that you focus, okay? Because if you're a commercial lawyer or you're a
Mm-hmm.
corporate lawyer, your target is different. If you're a criminal lawyer, then you see the person different. If you're a family lawyer, you obviously see, because you need to understand the context of the family in order to know what to do. But at the center, it's all about the person.
So, going with what you've just told me, when you talk about the human values, I definitely agree with you that, AI can ideally never replace, a human, in terms of the human touch or the softness or the feelings part. Okay? Now, if I would, just if you, for me to understand it better, or maybe for the audience to understand that better, when you say more human, or when you talk about the legal profession, how will you match both these things? How can a lawyer, a professional like you, could be more human, or what would you talk about adaptive legal profession?
In my opinion, I think everything that you do in life follows a motivation. In my opinion, or in my case, my motivation to
Hmm.
become a little more human came from this little guy who was born 4 years ago. So I realized that in order for me to become more human in my profession, I needed to reestablish my priorities and to balance them. Uh, I used to be a all work person. I didn't have any social life outside of my work. I didn't take any time to go on vacations to disconnect, because my life was focused 100% work. And when I got fired, I realized that there was something beyond. Then I went back into the company situation, and I fell into the same thing that I was supposed to not fall again.
Hmm.
And then when my son was born, I realized that I needed to balance. And I think I found my motivation to balance that in him, because I wanted to be a present dad. I wanted to be a dad who was also here, and I also show him by example. I think the best way you can do as a parent to teach something is by example. And I show my kid that I have time, that there's my job. For example, I have my office, and he knows when I'm working. But at the same time, if I finish this conversation, I go outside and I hug him, I play with him 5, 10 minutes, and I come back. So, and he has shown me that in every aspect in life, not only in legal professional, this can be done. Is and it's something about being organized, and something more important. I'm talking about a person who is married with a son. Yeah,
Hmm.
I don't want to step on people who is maybe single, because then
Right.
their motivation may be different.
Right.
But in my
Obviously.
case, I I found a person that, because I believe parenting is a two people's job. And if I am not on the same page with my wife, uh, I cannot do anything. So we come as a family, we created this dynamic where I can be present at work, I can be responsible, I can do my job in times when I'm needed to do, but also at the same time, I can be a family man. So, for example, I go on vacations and I try not to be attached to a computer because otherwise, those are not vacations. Those are just moving from place to place with your computer. So I
Right,
try
right,
to
right. I agree.
organize so I try to organize myself. For example, if I go on a trip in 3 weeks, I try to leave everything done before, or I don't book any vacations when I have deadlines. So this is comes. It's a matter of being organized. Uh, Organize everything with your family. Uh, Set your intentions clear with the company. Obviously, try to find companies that hopefully are on the same page as you are. I've been lucky enough to have that. Uh, Work with people who understand your priorities and who don't see you as a solving problem person only, but who see
Mhm.
you something behind. Because I think I, I I don't know if I want to say myself. Last a couple of weeks ago, I was watching a video about a guy who said that at work there is this coffee shop theory, and I really liked it. It means that in
Okay.
everything you do, you have to feel
What was it?
comfortable. Like that, he said that in every aspect of life that you are going to be, it is important that you feel comfortable as if you were in a coffee shop sharing a coffee with somebody. So
Nice. That's a good thought process.
you feel yourself in this environment. And like if you yes, don't yes, there are preoccupations, there are worries, there are everything behind, but make yourself comfortable. And if you're comfortable in this environment, you will produce more because if you're stressed, you're not going to do it, anything. So I focus this. I have this a lot of mottos that I feel, phrases that I follow and that I like them. I'm a person who watches a lot of movies, who reads a lot of books uh, about anything because right now I'm in the process of reading a lot of kids' books for my son. So and I learn from them.
Right. So you actually the habit of reading storybooks or maybe bedtime stories to your son when he
Yes,
sleeps at night?
every
Oh,
day. That's one of my favorite parts of my day.
that's lovely. A doting father.
Yes, because
That
I read him in Spanish, I read him in English, I read him in French. Even I have books because I have this. The Little Prince is the most translated book in the world. So
mhm.
I have this collection for him that I started doing a few years ago. That every country I visited, I'm lucky enough to visit, I bring their own copy, their own version of the Little Prince. So
Okay.
my son has the Little Prince in at least for now, uh, 7, 8 versions in different languages. And I'm hoping that the more countries I get lucky enough to visit, I bring every time I go to a country, even if it's in the airport, I go to a bookstore
Mhm.
and I ask for the Little
Okay.
Prince version and I buy it for him. So I read him a lot of stories, a lot of.
So are the stories same or different in different versions?
No, the story is the same. The Little Prince is the same. It's just that. But I
Okay.
bring, for example, I last year I was in Mexico and I brought this. I asked the book person, the librarian, I said, okay, I need a traditional book about Mexico, and he sold me a book about the story of the piñatas. These things
Okay.
that they hang up in parties and the people just the kids. So it was nice. So my kid, he knows about piñatas. There are some traditional books in Colombia. There's some. He loves Dr. Seuss and Dr.
Oh,
Seuss's
that's
books.
nice.
There's American. The Cat in the Hat is one of his favorite characters. So I bring this from everything. So he reads a lot. He has over like 100 books, and
That's lovely, you know.
every
That's
time he comes at
wonderful.
night, Dad, can you read me this? Can you read me this? Some in Spanish, some in English. So he can get a better picture of for me, that's one of the best moments in my day.
That's lovely. I'm sure more just like you, even he would be looking forward to it. Every night he would be waiting for you. That Dada will come home and he will read me stories from a book, the bedtime
Yes.
stories. That's lovely, sir. That's really wonderful thing, Mr. Barona. You are actually creating good memories for yourself and for your son. When you both grow up, maybe 10 years down the lane, you will talk about these things. Hey, son, I used to read books to you, and then you say, yeah, Dad, I remember that. So these are fond memories that you're creating for him, which he will cherish maybe for the rest of his life. Just
Yeah.
like when you grow old, 20 years down the lane, when you will be a grandfather, and when you will read, the same stories to your sons, maybe son or daughter, then you'll
Yeah.
feel the same thing. You will feel your son, the little child has come back to you again. That's
Yes.
lovely,
I
sir.
hope.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's lovely. That's wonderful. Now, if I'll ask you about, your legal expertise are on licensed services. So if I'll ask you about it, what will you tell me about it? What exactly is, a licensed service, and why did you create
My
it?
my legal expert liaison service is a service I created. Actually, I gave it a name a year ago. This is something that I've been doing for the past 5 years without even knowing.
Okay,
It's just that a year ago, I one day I was like, hey, wait a minute, I'm doing this. I should just give it a name and make it a service. Uh, One of my best or my first clients is my brother. My brother is an entrepreneur and
okay,
he has his companies in France, in Spain, and then he moved back to Colombia. And now he has his businesses here in Colombia. And I started to become his right hand man because personal trust. I'm a lawyer, he's an engineer. So I started to provide his services. A couple of years ago, he wanted to do these legal things. And there's something that I do as a professional is that if I don't know about something, I ask the right person. I am not a yes to all lawyers. I criticize yes to all lawyers because if that is not your expertise, don't compromise because if my area of expertise is European projects, my area of expertise is not criminal law, is not tax law, is not labor law. But if a person asks me, I need to know. If I don't know, I need to know who knows, who is the expert. So
right,
it all started because my brother had this tax situation that he wanted to get to know better. So he asked me, and I like, I don't know. So then we contacted this expert in tax law, and I became a bridge.
okay,
So my brother, the entrepreneur, and the legal expert, and they needed someone in between, and the person in between was me. So I liaised between them two. And what I basically did was that I told my brother, hey, you focus on your business. I focus on your problem. So I started to take his problem away from him. And I started to realize, so I am in charge of the communication with the lawyers, the meetings, because he was busy. So I started to get to be a bridge between this. So I've been doing this for the past years. And then I decided to make it a service. So I started offering entrepreneurs the same service I do to my brothers, and I gave it a name. So I'm a
that's
legal
lovely.
expert liaison. So I have a network of legal experts in many areas of the law who are my allies. So when an entrepreneur comes to me with a legal need, I tell them, hey, I have the person for you. So I contact the person, we get the three in the room, they explain everything, and I from there I take on. And I provide feedback to the client every 2 weeks or every week, depending on what he does. So the basic idea is to save him time, so he does not need to worry about the issue. I worry about the issue because that's what you pay me for, and I just give you
Right,
feedback.
right, right.
So he takes it. So I liaise between them. I so far now I have at least like 5 clients, very good clients, and I am in charge. I have a network. Actually, one of the best things about Lexto was that I was able to connect with people that maybe somebody from Mexico ask me. So I know a Mexican guy who can do that. I have people in Europe, people in the States. So, and my basic issue is that I need to have I believe in clear communication. So one of the things that I transmit to the clients is that the person, the legal expert, is he's going to feel like if I was going to be the expert because I put my name in the line. I put my
Right.
background in the line. So I need to make sure the person that I connecting with is as good as I am, better in his field, I hopefully, and I hope for that. And we have clear communication because I need to be in charge of everything. So I made it a service and I offer it. So what I offer entrepreneurs is that you leave your legal needs to me. I make sure they are solved or they are taken care of, sorry, and you can go on your business, continue. And we provide
That's
feedback,
lovely.
and that's it.
That's lovely, Mr. Burke. That's actually lovely. That is, this was really innovative of you to think of this bridging the gap between, people from different horizons. So that's a really innovative thing. And if I'll ask you more on this, how does it actually reflect a new way of thinking about legal work?
Because it made me realize that I became a legal translator, something that I mentioned earlier,
Hmm.
because I I believe lawyers were taught to speak legal, and they taught us, for some, in my experience, that you need to speak legal, but they don't teach us to speak to people who do not understand a language. So, for example, if a guy owns a company or building construction company, he he doesn't have time to get to understand your language. He needs to be whatever you're telling him in his own language for words that he understands.
Hmm.
And actually, in time saving uh, issue too. I had one experience with my brother. We asked for this. We made this consultant to a lawyer, and he gave me a 25 pages memo. 25 pages.
Okay.
And here in Colombia, Latinos, we tend to write a lot. And when my brother took the paper, he told me, Jorge, I don't have time for this. You read it and you summarize it for me in 15 minutes. So I realized that this lawyer, he was not writing to the client. He was writing maybe to me, but he didn't know that
Right,
his end person was going to be the client. And
right,
it's
right, right.
normally, so I realized that we as lawyers, we need to change that. In my professional experience, because I work with multidisciplinary teams, I have come to manage this. So, for example, the documents that I write, the deliverables, I don't write them for myself or for lawyers. I write them for engineers, for researchers, for people who don't understand the law. They can have knowledge, of course, but they need to make sure. I need to make sure that they understand what I'm saying in their own language. So with this legal expert liaison, one of the things that I realized is that we need to transform our profession into that. We need to teach lawyers how to work with multiple disciplinary teams, how to think with us, how to write or speak, not for you, because your right is for the person who is reading you,
Hmm.
and the person who is going to read your report, he may not be a lawyer. Some uh, CEOs, they may be lawyers, or they have this, but you need to learn because, for example, if I have a client who is a guy who is wants to do his will, for example, I don't know what is his profession, and I need to write to him in a way that he understands that his will is going to be okay, that everything is going to be taken care. I don't need to tell him that according to the law, one, two, three. No, entrepreneurs, in my
Right,
opinion, they don't care about that. They care about
exactly.
right information for them to make a decision in the moment. This
Obviously.
25 pages memos was written, 20 pages were copy paste of a tax code that we have here in Colombia. Why do
Right,
I
I
need to
agree.
say to read that Article 513 says that? No, I need to have this. I need to have very fast because time is money.
Absolutely.
right now. So that's why that is my main key of when I get a new client, that's what I tell them. I'm gonna save you money.
Uh-huh.
And by saving you money, I'm gonna save you
Money,
time.
money and time, of course. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Money and time. Time is money.
So, yes, I realize that we lawyers we need to transform in this aspect. We need to be more approachable. We need to be aware of who are we writing, who are we reading, who are we talking to, even if conference or anything. And we need to go out of
Hmm.
our legal bubble. Actually, one of the things that I like is that I'm part of this initiative called TED Law, and they're focusing on that, how to transform legal profession. And I really believe in that. I think we need to transform it. We need to get rid of the
Definitely.
cliches.
Right. I agree with you on that. So, if I'll ask you, like you have so much of experience now, I believe more than 17 years and counting now. So, if you, by chance, by nature, if you get a chance to visit your younger self, maybe 15 years from now, younger than, you get a chance to go in the past, to the younger lawyer, what advice would you like to give to yourself, that what should he be doing?
Oh, hmm. What advice can I give to my younger self? Oh my God, that's a very interesting question. Is that wait? I think wait and have patience and be sure that everything is happening for a reason. Everything in your life happens for a reason. It is not a coincidental that I moved to France. It was life who took me there. It was life who took me to every. If I go back to my life, the way it has gone, I realized that I used to be a little bit more like fast forward, impatient, because I was younger. I wanted life to be a lot of things, and I realized that everything comes at the right time. Like you said, God,
Hmm.
the Almighty, they have a plan for you. Everything is planned for you. You just need to be patient and make yourself ready for whatever comes next. I believe that if I had this opportunity that I have right now, a couple of years ago, I maybe not be as ready as I am today to do it. That's why God gave me the chance of being a father when I was economically stable and professionally stable, not when I was younger, when I was maybe naive or immature. Life
Hmm.
gave me the chance of being a father right now when I'm in the moment of my life that I can transmit confidence, that I can share knowledge. Actually, before I didn't know. I mean, I don't know because the what if is something that we never going to know. But I believe that that is something that I would tell myself that everything happens for a reason. Nothing is not you cannot give anything for granted because you have to work every day. Uh, the best things that have happened in my life have happened without me having a plan in sort of way. I give you an example to understand better. I always wanted to find a wife. I always wanted to share my life with a person. I always wanted a family.
Hmm.
That was my life's dream. I used to tell
Okay.
my mom that I didn't care about being the best lawyer in the world. I care. My main concern was being the best father in the world, and I always asked God to give me the opportunity. But I needed somebody to have this son with and somebody to share because I wanted a family. I wanted a person who helped me raise, to be a team, everything. And the story about my wife and I started for an Instagram like. I did
Oh,
not plan
okay.
to. She gave me a like in Instagram of a picture because we're friends for at least 20 years. And we hadn't spoken in at least 8 years. And one day I was at work and I saw that she gave like to our Instagram photo. And I decided to text her, hey, hello, long time no see. You want to go grab a coffee as a friend? And that moment triggered everything that is going in my life. I didn't know it was going to be her. And we know each other for 20 years. So that taught me that the best thing in life comes when you don't expect them. Because when you
Exactly.
expect a lot of things, you come to disappointment. But when
Right,
you don't
right, right.
expect, everything is surprise. So in my case, it was amazing. I didn't know my job. my brother called me one day, Jorge, I want you to work with me, but I don't know how to get you into the team because there's not a legal work. And I sat down one day and I created my job.
Okay.
I told my brother, give me 2 days and I'll make you an offer. And I organized everything. And I realized I told him why did the company need me in that moment, and I created my job because
Oh,
the legal office they was not in their idea of creating the company, and I made it a necessity. I told them, hey, you need to have somebody to check the contracts. You need to have somebody to write the deliverables. You need to have somebody to take care of IP. I was like, no, but this engineer, they're like, yes, he's an engineer, but you have an expert. Let me do it. Give me the opportunity. And he gave me the opportunity. And that gave me open another door, another door, another door. And now, 8 years later, here I am. But I didn't know that I was going to work in a EU company. I prepared myself. I studied. So, but my advice would be like, wait and prepare yourself, be ready. So I hope that will be a good advice for my younger self.
well, Mr. Barona, it's actually nice, it's really good thing to know and to learn that, it's always great to create opportunities for yourself. You know, it's always good to learn new things. And if a person is knowledgeable, he or she can definitely excel in life. They can create opportunities for themselves. What was your takeaway from that conference? You must have met different people over there from different nationalities. As you also mentioned that you met a Mexican guy. So, you can help different people out, with your license work. So, what were your key takeaways from that conference? Or, when you met different people out there, what kind of learning did it give you? And how are you implementing it in your day-to-day life in Colombia?
Actually, it was a surprise at the beginning when I got contacted, and I was because I remember somebody in the conference in the speech, and she received the
Mhm.
award. She said that she didn't know she was uh, inspirational. I remember her words were that, and then it got me thinking. Sometimes you need to believe first in yourself, and Lex Talk gave me that push. I wanted to feel like I what I was doing in my work life was good. So when I got contacted, I remember just being nominated was an honor, and being awarded was beyond. And when I received the award, for me was the culmination. It was like something was very satisfying for my part. And I went to the conference with a lot of expectations, uh, happy, also a little bit nervous because I was leaving my family here and they were not able to attend to me with me. But when I got to the first moment, I realized that I was a little bit nervous, to be honest, because to be among people who are who are professionals like myself, they come from many places in the world. Every time, the first time when you get into a room with people that you don't know, you're not familiar, you don't know how their reaction is going to be when they get to know you. I prepare myself a lot. To be honest, I am one of those persons who I believe that when I go to any event, I need to be myself. I need to prepare myself a lot. So I had these brochures with my presentation, with everything, and
Hmm.
it fit perfectly. So what I was expecting, it fit to what I actually found at the place. So because I got to get to know a lot of people, I got to participate in two panels, which for me was unbelievable. The chance to be in front of an audience, to talk to people, to share your experience or your views on some topics. It was amazing to get to know people who can you can know a lot from them. I got to
Hmm.
share the first panel with two wonderful women. Uh, it was amazing to get to know them. When I told them about my story, they got very. It was very exciting for them to get to know that a person from Colombia was working on that, and then we got to share this to a lot of people. It was nice. Then the second panel was amazing too. They were it was funny because the first panel was with two women, the other panel we were all men, and carrying a panel with a guy from Chile, a guy from Ecuador, a guy from the US, and get to talk about a topic that is right now very crucial, that is the ESG. It was amazing. It was amazing. And the event at the whole, get to know, I met people from the US, from Mexico, from Salvador, from I know there were some guys, a lot of people from India as well.
Hmm.
So it was amazing. People from Brazil, from Argentina, from Peru. So yes, I understand that is why you go to these events. If you want to
Right.
widen your network, you have to go to these events. Uh, it's a good opportunity to share with more people what you do, because you don't know when this is going to result into a bigger business for you. Uh, I have, from the moment that I came from New York to right now, it's been to 2 months since that. And I keep in contact with them, with some of the people that
Hmm.
I met there, because we don't know what collaboration we can do in the future, because
Right.
synergies are very good to do. uh, I even created a LinkedIn group with the people that we went there. So in order for us to keep together, maybe know, uh, maybe if I get the chance to go to Chile, I get to contact the guy who I met from Chile. Maybe go over there, share a cup of coffee. That is what networking is all about. And to be able to put on my website, on my new brochure, on my portfolio, that it was awarded with a leading of the year award. That is something that is also good. It helps you to approach more clients, more people, and people to get to know you a little bit better. They get interested. Hey, this guy won an award. Why did he get an award? So they ask you, and then you start telling these stories, and you tell them, hey, I went to New York, because going to New York is not that you go to any place. You go to the best, in my opinion, the best city in the world. I love New York. I
Right.
live in New York, so I
Yes.
love that city. And for me, was a full circle in my life. I thought in I used to live in New York in 2009, and I went to New York to pursue my studies in law in the US, and I didn't pass the exam. I failed for 10 points in the exam. And to go back
Oh,
to New York City, to this city who gave me my first, let's say, academic failures, to so to speak, 16 years after, and to win an award, for me was very, I don't know, serendipity is the word. It was very funny to go there
right.
after so
It
many
must have
years.
been a very lovely memory for, going back to New York, getting an award. A
Yes.
city where you couldn't, excel professionally. I mean,
Yeah.
academic wise.
So for me, it was very good. So I thank the people from the organization who gave me this opportunity to go there to participate, to get to know
Hmm.
people. So for me, it's very, very good.
Lovely, sir. Now, going with your experience, you've been a part of, US, Europe, South America, I can actually call you a global lawyer, to an extent, since you have the knowledge, you've tasted waters in all these continents. In your opinion, what do you think? What kind of legal professionals does the world need in this changing times? The kind of geopolitics that we have, these days.
I think we need lawyers who understand the context in everything, who understand the geopolitics, who understand, not be an expert in economics, in politics, in everything, but who understand it. And if you do not understand it, you ask third people to get to give you this knowledge of this context in general, because this is the key for you to make a good legal advice. Uh, I wouldn't be where I am or do what I do without understanding context. For example, in Europe, uh, most of the research of that these projects do, they're very particular. They are, for example, they involve chemicals, they involve all these things that as a lawyer you don't understand. But I needed to prepare myself. So what
Mhm.
the first thing I do is I get together with the project manager and I tell them, hey, can you explain the project for me like dummies? Uh, so I believe lawyers, we need to go beyond our legal profession to get to understand the environment that we're going to be working on and to understand the people that we're going to working with. Uh, so that can help us as a professional to make or to give better legal advices, to understand the markets, to understand the profession, to understand the people you're going to be along with, to understand the project you're going to participate, to understand the company, the cultural company. This is something that takes a little bit more from you because I don't know if some lawyers they just focus on just doing the work and that's it. No, I think you need to do a bit more. You need to dig a little bit deeper into everything that you're getting involved with and let people know the person behind your profession. For example, in my case, most of my meetings are online.
Hmm.
So people know me by a camera. They don't know me in person. A lot of people don't know me in person. So I think that is something that I need to work on. That's the reason I decide to go. That's the reason when I go to the events, I make the best. So people in 5, 10 minutes, they get to know me and they get to, hey, this is the guy behind the camera. Hey, he's quite a nice guy. He's a serious guy. He likes to joke, say, because he likes to talk about. There was this guy in the Lex talk, and because the moment I think the last day of the Lex talk was the where the club's World Cup was going to start, and we started
Hmm.
working about talking about football. So when I contacted him after, I told him, "Hey, what do you think about the World Cup?" And he was like, so that gave us this. We broke the ice and we started talking about something common. And it wasn't about the law; it was about football, something outside.
Right.
So I think those kind of things, situations, can help you improve your relationship, and obviously it will help you your improve you as a professional. That's what I believe lawyers, we need to do that. And that needs to be taught from law school. And when you enter a company, uh,
Hmm.
we need to share this knowledge with. I don't, if I have somebody that is going to work with me as a junior, for example, I need to tell him, I need to teach him how to do the job, but I need to teach him what I expect from him as a person to do the job, because in my line of work, I need to transmit confidence to my clients because they need to
Right.
rely on me to finish the job and they
Right.
get to know
Of
me. So
course.
I think that it needs to be a balance between those two things.
I agree. So, what kind of person is George once he gets up from the chair, once he is out of his office? What kind of person is George? Friendly,
Oh,
fun-loving, football player, movie buff,
I used to
clubbing.
love. I used to play football. Sadly, I got a knee surgery 6 years ago, so my football career stopped. Eh,
Oh, okay,
no,
that's
so I couldn't
bad.
stop. For me, it was the best stress release activity that it can exist in the world. I'm a family person. I love my family. I love spending time for my family. I used to be a very friendly, to get to know a lot of people, to be friends with a lot of people. Now my circle has narrowed a lot down because when you become, because sadly, most of my friends, they don't have kids. So they
Okay.
are still living some of them, they're still living la vida loca. Some of them, they travel a lot, but now I focus most on my family. But I'm a person who likes to speak, to say my mind. Uh, I'm I'm not a I'm not a believer of the politically correct environment,
Hmm.
uh, and that is something that I criticize a lot about our profession, because everybody, they cannot say what they think in fear of.
They feel like that's right.
Yeah, and
They
I
cannot
I
be
think
open
that
about their thought process.
and I think that removes the authenticity of a person. Obviously,
I
with
agree.
respect, no, you have to speak your mind with respect. So when I tell my clients, you cannot expect me to tell you what you want to hear. I will tell you what you need to hear. If you want
What you
something,
should know, right?
if you want a lawyer who tells you what you want to hear, that's not me. Because also I do not tell my clients what to do. I give them the panorama and I give them the scenarios for you to make a decision. I go with you in any decision that you make. but I make sure that they know the consequences of each part.
Each decision that
Uh,
they make, that's right.
but for example, once we finish I this year, I'm a person who likes to talk a lot with my wife, with my son. I talk a lot with him. I transmit to my son the value of a family. I talk to
Mm-hmm.
my parents every day. I'm lucky enough to live with them in the same city. I call them every day. I
Where
go
are they right
visit
now? Which city are they in?
in Cali, Colombia. I live in Cali, Colombia. Cali
And
is a
how
south
far
in the Pacific.
how
My
far is
parents
it?
live 20 minutes away from here.
Okay.
So I transmit this. I'm a family person. I love watching football. I love Real Madrid. I love salsa music. But right now, my music taste is kids music because my son makes me listen to that every day. So I changed that.
Right.
Uh, I'm a fun person. I like to joke. I think I have in my bucket list is that I one day want to do a stand-up comedy. I don't know how
Oh,
I'm gonna do it, but because I love it. I love to be in front of a stage and talk to
have
people, share my experiences.
have you ever tried that? Maybe in your young age, college, school time?
No, no, never. And I always see people that they do it. I always say, one day I'm gonna do it. I don't know if I haven't been courageous enough to go pursue it. That's something that is on my bucket list, and I have to do it eventually one day because through my 42 years, I have had stories that happened to me that they're worth sharing it. I live in the U.S. when I was very little. Uh, I've been living in at least five, six different countries so far. I used to be an
Mm-hmm.
English teacher. So
Oh,
when you teach a language, you get a lot of stories from students trying to learn because they make you laugh. Uh,
right, right, right.
and,
So
and,
English
and I feel
teacher
very
in
close.
Colombia. English
Yes,
teacher in Colombia.
yes. I used to work as an English teacher when I was doing my practice. When I got out of
Okay,
university, here in Colombia, they are not paid, the practices. When you go
okay.
do your work practice, they're not your internships, they're not paid.
Uh-huh.
So I had to find a job to get myself some money. So one person
So
asked me,
how
so
how
I
did you
started.
manage? How did you manage the internship and the teaching profession? I mean, how did you
I used
devote time
to,
for both?
I do my internship was from 8 in the morning to 3 p.m. and my teaching was from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Oh,
So I was all day from 8. I used to get home at 10 in the night, and it was, but being able to teach somebody something, regardless if it was English, is a great satisfaction. I believe sharing your knowledge is one of the kindest things you can do as a human being. And if you get the ability or the skill to do that, you need to do it. I didn't know how to be a teacher, English teacher. I just got somebody who made me do exam, and I learned
hmm
how to be a teacher in the moment, in the process. And then I realized I felt very comfortable in front of people talking and making people laugh and teaching by experiences. So I love it. I did it for 15 years.
That's lovely. That's lovely, Mr. Barona. That's really fantastic. A legal professional, a teacher, a football player. Wow, that's lovely. So, what next? If I'll ask you, maybe, professionally, personally, what next? What do you,
Okay, so
where do you see yourself maybe, 5 years from now or 10 years from now?
for example, right in the upcoming right near future, I'm going to Brussels next month. I'm
Okay.
going to an event, a networking event in Brussels for the European Union. It's called
Uh-huh.
R&I Days. Uh, so I'm going to be there for in the mid-September for a whole week in Brussels. Then I'm
hmm
going to come back to Colombia and to see what comes next. In the horizon, there's always the event of San Francisco that I've been asked if I wanted to be there. I don't know. I have it in the radar to go there. There's some upcoming events for myself to organize the legal expert liaison service. I'm going to do it as a separate business, a separate service from my legal EU funded project experience. I'm going to split those two services because I believe it needs to be separated because it's a whole different service and I cannot have it under the same roof. But So I'm working in this as a personal project. I have a personal project that involves getting to know the person behind the lawyer. So because if I have the mentality that the legal profession needs to evolve and needs to move to the more human, uh,
Hmm.
I need to do something about it. I need to put
Right.
my little piece in this big. I'm working with the TED law initiative. That is something that is amazing, and it's all thanks to Let's Talk because the person who got me into this Tech Talk initiative, she was one of the panelists in the first panel that I was in, and
Okay.
so it was for me. It made all worth it. It made the whole event worth it. Uh, in 5 years, I see myself in the same with my son, 9 years, in 10 with my son, 14 years, and being able to be a dad to share with him to go to the trainings, to football, to take him to school. I think as a parent, there's no greater satisfaction than picking up and going and taking your kids to school. I hope
I
to do it
agree.
as long as he allows me, because when kids grow, oh, dad, I don't want you to go with me because I'm better with my kid, with my friend, whatever. But in the moment, I enjoy it. I love
Right.
going
Right.
to visit more places to get a. I like being a panelist in conference because I think it gives you a stage to share your insights or your knowledge with a lot of people. So I love it. So I trying to get these opportunities to go to do it online, to be a person, because I think uh, there's so much in each of us that we need to share. We just need the opportunity or the stage to do it. And for me, Let's Talk gave me a huge opportunity that I need to make sure to make the best of it. I always thought, I
Right.
told one of the person who went to the event with me, and I told her, we need to make the best of the momentum. This is the momentum. What we're
This is
doing
the
right
moment.
now is what we need to make sure. Because if you let things cool off, so that's why
Right.
I'm working. I wake up every day, and I wake up every day with the same motivation. For this time, my son has been sleeping with us in the same bed for the past 3, 4 months. Uh, I love it. I love waking up and see him next to my wife and with this family thing. Call me a romantic, call me whatever. I love it. And I always wake up with the same motivation to keep this in my life, to work,
That's lovely.
to get a job or get opportunities that allow me to do this, to be a dad and to be a lawyer in something that I love doing it. So that's my near future. Keep working in what I do.
That's lovely, Mr. Varun. That's really lovely. That brings us to the end of the session for today. With many more to come. You know, uh, for our audience, we had Mr. George Barona over here with us today. A family man, a die-hard romantic person, fan of Manchester United, and a loving father, a doting husband, a loving child. So thank you for joining us today. And thank you for sharing your views with us. Looking forward to many more rounds together like this.
Thank you, AJ, for your time. Thank you, Let's Talk, for the opportunity. And I cannot be more grateful that to be in this space with you. And I encourage. I was talking to Nitesh last
Hmm.
week, and I told her that somebody contacted me who she was motivated to go to you, and I gave her my experience, and I told her at the beginning, I don't have to lie. I think I honestly can tell you that this opened a lot of doors for you, and if you seek these opportunities, go for it. Go for it because these spaces, the articles, they get to know people. This is something that is going to enrich your professional life and your personal life. Because when you travel and you get to know people, you get to know more cultures, and you get familiarized with many many things. And right now, our profession demands that. Demands that we get in
Right.
contact with people and that we widen our perspective, and that we teach future generations that law is not only about the books, is not only about a courtroom, is also about the person who is behind this dress or this suit. I don't wear suits. So for me,
Right.
when I received the award, I felt very awkward because I hadn't wear a suit for like a long time, and it was a little because I had gained a little bit of weight. So, but it was the whole experience of getting myself to suit made me realize that I mean, is everything happens for a reason. That's my final call for a lot of people. So thank you so much, AJ, for the time. Thank you for making me feel comfortable, and hope to keep in touch. And thank you for everything again.